concussion coming off that thing standing right here.
Alright, what's up guys? We've got a cool little bullpup to review for you here. Today this is the MSAR, the Microtech Small Arms Reseach STG-556. Very similar to the Steyr AUG, or AUG as a lot of people like to call it here in America. Differences, well, obviously it's made here in the United States by Microtech. Most of you will probably recognize that name as they're well known for high quality knives. Decided to branch a little bit into the firearms industry, and this is what they came up with. Basic differences: some of the early models of the MSAR, they had forward assists on them to be a little bit more uniform with the M16 series of rifles. They also have a bolt release on here. Other differences, obviously you can easily change out the 1.5 magnification optic for a Picatinny 1913 rail. Besides that, I mean, it's very similar. Another thing, right hand side 1913 rail for you to throw on any other accessories that you might want. And then besides this, it's mostly just aftermarket parts that I have on here, and we'll get around to that a little bit later. So this is it. This is your MSAR STG-556. I think it's a really cool looking rifle. It's different. You know, you show up at the range and people notice it because you don't see a lot of these running around. Really, there weren't really a ton of them made. I've had a good experience so far with Microtech. They've been very helpful whenever I've needed any kind of customer service. This thing's backed with a full warranty. They'll fix anything that goes wrong with it. In fact, just recently I had an extractor break on me. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. This is an early model and some of those had faulty extractors. Have the new one in it now, a little bit different design, and it's supposed to, you know, last, you know, more or less a lifetime in the gun, or at least what most people will shoot out of it. So let's get into the review a little bit. As usual, we're going to go ahead and start off with some of the positives, some of the things that we really like about this rifle in particular. So if you look right here, we've got our regular list. Along with that, beside here, we've got our miscellaneous data as usual. If you want to check that out throughout the video, just some basic information about it. But yeah, we'll jump into the positives here. First thing, and the most apparent thing when you check this rifle out, is the length. Overall length, man, 27 inches. That's with a full 16-inch barrel right there. That's compact. If you're planning on using this as perhaps a home defense rifle, something like that, any situation where you're going to be going around corners and need to be really maneuverable, this is a good choice, man. Very solid as far as overall length. Also just, you know, generally lightweight, 7.2 pounds. You know, not bad at all. There are lighter rifles on the market, but as far as bullpups go, that's real nice. As far as a 5.56 bullpup rifle, that's pretty light.
Yeah, you compare it to the like the Tavor, which I like the Tavor a lot, but Tavor is more around like 9 pounds or something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy gun.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, you know, a bone stock AR-15 is going to come in less than this, but
yeah, absolutely. So as far as bullpup rifles go, man, that's obviously the biggest positive, at least in most people's eyes, is the length. That you can get a full-length barrel in such a short rifle here. I mean, check that out. That's nothing. So 27 inches, super compact, super short. I also really like the balance of this rifle, man. I mean, I'm gonna hold it here. This rifle is clear. Bolts back, you can see everything's clear, and safety's on. Nothing's gonna happen here. So I'm gonna stick my finger on the grip here, which is inside the trigger guard. There's nothing I can do about that. So if you check it out here, the balance, man. I mean, the balance is actually a little bit more behind your hand, which is unusual for some people. If you're used to shooting your AR-15, you know, your weight of the rifle is probably more in between your hands. With this bad boy, you know, it's riding back here in between your hand and your shoulder, and that can be strange for people at first. But man, I'll tell you what, you could hold it up here all day without a support hand. I mean, that's no problem at all, you know. Coming out here, even just one-handed, you know, it's just super simple. It just rides right on top of your hand. No big deal. So some people will complain a little bit about the balance just because they're not used to it, you know. For me, you know, I like to keep an open mind, and honestly, I can see a lot of great positives that can come from having a rifle balanced in this way. So balance-wise, I think it's a positive. Along with that balance comes some improved recoil management over most traditional rifles. Obviously, that's not always the case, but generally speaking, recoil management is great. It really likes to stay on target. You'll notice the recoil really comes right back into you rather than getting that muzzle climb. So moving on here, looking down the list here, Picatinny Rails. Now that's obviously nothing revolutionary or anything like that. If you check this out here, I think this rail is made by Ratworks. I'll put it in the video if that's wrong, but it's their low profile rail, and real nice because it keeps it so much lower to the bore than, for example, the standard 1.5 magnification optic that you'll have on there, and also just the other 1913 rails. They generally ride a little bit higher above the receiver here. I like the low profile. I like to get my optics and my sights as low as I can. So the Picatinny Rail is definitely positive. I like them. This one, the older original MSAR stocks, it's more traditional. I actually kind of like it. I like that it looks more like the Steyr AUG. You know, it's just got that original feel to it, which I think is cool. Just personal preference. But functionality-wise, they're pretty much the same. So moving on again, as far as the function of this rifle, man, the reliability has been outstanding, dude. I mean, I have literally had no problems whatsoever with any kind of ammunition going through this gun. You know, you can shoot your nice 5.56. That is actually what this gun is chambered in, 5.56, hence the name. Obviously, that means it's going to handle 223 with no problem as well. I've run all sorts of steel through here, you know, your wolf or your brown bear stuff, whatever it is. All of those lower recoil rounds, that cheap steel. It's run it all flawlessly, no problems at all, no hang-ups. I will say, however, a couple times ago when we went out shooting this guy, the extractor broke on it. I researched into it a little bit more, and I found out that some of the earlier serial numbers, kind of around where mine is, mine's an earlier model as well. A lot of them had, well, all of the early ones had a faulty extractor, at least what I found from my research. So I ordered up a new one. Microtech sent it out to me, and I compared them, and the new extractor that they sent to me, it is definitely a different design. It looks completely different from the old one, and it's functioning perfectly, and from what I understand, that should last, you know, as long as I'm going to be shooting this rifle. So, you know, yeah, if you have an older model, you might run into that issue, something to be aware of, but it's a very easy fix. Easy to swap that extractor out, get it running 100%. So besides the broken extractor that I had, I have not had a single malfunction with this rifle at all. It is run everything I've thrown at it.
Very minimal cleaning too.
Oh yeah, man, that's another benefit to the gas piston system, man. It stays clean in the internals, man. It's definitely an advantage there as well. So moving on here, non-reciprocating charging handle. For most people, that's going to be a benefit. Non-reciprocating charging handle, meaning as you fire, it is going to stay stationary in this spot.
Nice, so that on this gun is a really nice feature. I do like that this does not reciprocate your charging handle, because you know, if you are holding it anywhere besides right here, your hand's all over that.
So. Oh yeah, you'd be jacked if that thing reciprocated if you tried to do that.
Unless you grabbed onto here, which is dumb.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that really is the only way to go for that.
So moving on, I did mention that it has a gas piston system. It's a short stroke gas piston. If you check it out up here, that's where it is. It has 3 settings. You have your standard, high, and grenade. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the gas piston system, standard, that's what you're gonna run 90% of the time, you know, anytime you're running your regular brass and whatnot. The high pressure and inclement conditions, man, if you're running your rifle real dirty during wartime or whatnot, if you're running around in a lot of dust and there's risk of your rifle getting fouled up, that's really the only time you'll need to run it in the high gas setting. It just obviously helps to pressurize your gun a little bit more. The standard gas setting is going to have a little bit larger port so that more gas can get through a larger hole, so there's not going to be as much pressure. The high setting obviously has a smaller hole, which is going to create higher pressures, force a little bit more of those gases to hit your bolt with a little bit more force. And then the grenade setting, that just turns your gas system off, and then you'll basically be running single shot. Nice little option to have if you ever want to run a silencer or something like that. It can be kind of nice to eliminate the sound that escapes from your ejection port here as your bolt operates. You know, there's a lot of noise that comes with just the manipulation of the bolt and the gases that escape through there. So moving on, breakdown. Dude, this gun comes apart real easy. One of the nicest features is the quick change barrel. I can show you real quick. Just make sure your charging handle comes out of the way right here, otherwise it won't be able to rotate, as you can see. So pull it back here. All you have to do is to press this lever right here. Okay, can you see that? So all you do to press this lever down and to the left, and it just twists off. See that right there? And your barrel's free. That's all it is. So if you want to grab yourself a 20-inch barrel or some other caliber, I know they talked about coming out with a 300 blackout, things like that. I haven't seen those around. They might have them, but if they do, they're super hard to come by. But super easy to pull it out. After that, you could easily store this in a backpack next to your barrel, you know, make it even more compact, whatever. It's so simple to take off that, you know, it's not really a factor at all. From there, I can show you real quick since it's so simple. There's a takedown button here. You have to push it from the left to the right. Just press down there and you'll feel it pop. Coming out the side here. And there you go. As you press it down and it comes out, that'll release your receiver group here. And it'll all come out here. You can get the bolt group to come out with it. You don't have to. You can pull the receiver off separately and pull your bolt group out there. I'm not going to take it all apart right now. Pretty simple from there though. You just twist your firing pin counterclockwise. That'll pull right out. You can drop this little plug here, which isn't on the Steyr AUG, and then you can pull your bolt out and do whatever you want. I just did that recently to replace that extractor that had broken on me. So very simple takedown, very fast. And there you go. Pop it back down. Takedown pins back in. Push your barrel. Let it slide back down. And kind of push the lever with it, and it's back in. That's all there is to take down. If you want, I guess I could show you where the trigger pack is here. If you want to get to your hammer group, real simple. You've got this retaining pin, which actually has a QD or a flush cup attachment there to it, which is kind of handy. All you got to do is press on the back of the buttstock here. You can feel it right here. There's a little depression. Press in on that. Oh, I just popped off one of my caps. Pull out your retaining pin. Stock will come, or the butt pad will come off there, and then you can sometimes have to manipulate the bolt release a little bit because it'll want to hold on to the hammer group. At least with mine, manipulate that. It'll come right on out, and there's your trigger pack. Pretty much identical to the Steyr AUG. This one does have obviously a few upgrades in it. This is the new trigger. I actually like it a lot. It helps to make the trigger feel a little bit more smooth and metallic. Just feels a little bit more natural, more like your traditional rifle, which I like. It also has the K&M lightning installed, which just helps to take some of that spring tension off and can lighten your trigger. It's got 3 different depressions you can put it into for varying degrees of trigger pull. Right now I think I got it on the middle one, and for my particular gun it brought it from 9.5 pounds, which is stock on these things, pretty heavy, to, I think it's around 4 or 5 pounds, so it's a lot lighter. In combination with that new trigger, the trigger on this thing's actually pretty nice right now. It's actually better than a lot of traditional rifles, which is saying a lot for a bullpup. That being said, stock trigger, I will get into that in the negatives a little bit. Stock bullpup triggers are definitely one of their downfalls, generally speaking. So to put it back in, same thing. Just make sure your bolt release is out of the way and it'll slide right back in, no problem. Put your butt pad right back on and slide in the retaining. Let's put it on this side. Your retaining pin, and you're good to go. So I pretty much just took down the entire rifle right there, with the exception of taking apart the bolt. I guess one thing I did neglect is the gas piston. Again, that's also very simple. Push it in and turn it all the way around, and there it is, pops out. There's the piston. I guess I can show you that real quick. Nothing. Yeah, that's from probably the last 3 trips there. You know, a little bit of fouling on it, but not bad. Maybe the last 2 trips. You got your spring in there as well. It's a little bit dirty from the last couple times we shot there. Probably should clean it out. But slide it back on. Turn it to the gas setting you want, and you're good to go. So that's all there is to that. Pretty simple. Alright, moving on, breakdown, that's it, super simple. One other nice thing about that is if you do need to get into your bolt carrier group to swap out the bolt for a left-handed version, very simple to do, and they do have those available, which is real nice. As you can see here, there's another ejection port. You've got this little cover on here. You can just snap that off and throw it on the other side, throw your left-handed bolt in there, and you're ready to go left-handed. Now, besides that, you know, the rest of the controls, they're not necessarily ambidextrous. You've got your standard, you know, right-handed shooters, bullet release. Your charging handle's still going to be on the left, so you'll have to work around that a little bit, but you won't have the brass flying out right in front of your face, at least. So that's another nice advantage. And finally, the last positive with the MSAR STG-556, just general sex appeal, man. You know, they're cool rifles. They're just different. They're something you don't see every day, and I think that's something that oftentimes draws people to these rifles initially, is just knowing that they're going to have something that's unique that not everybody has. You know, and honestly, most people will recognize them in a movie or two. You'll see them in video games. You know,
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
Hip firing.
Yeah.
Headshots.
Yeah.
200 yards.
During the apocalypse, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, you'll see it around, you'll recognize it, and generally speaking, it's just a cool gun, you know. Obviously, that's a matter of opinion. I think they're cool. Most people generally do think that they're rather cool looking. So that's definitely a positive in most people's books. All right, moving on to the negatives. So one thing with this stock. This is one of the original versions, obviously. This is the one without the forward assist, but it does take the proprietary magazines, and that can be a big negative for most people. Now, when I got this rifle, it came with like 14, 15 mags, so I wasn't too worried about it. But if if you're running your AR-15 and you got a bunch of mags for it, it could be a pain to have to buy extra mags for this gun. So that's a negative, not a huge deal, but obviously if you want to run your PMags or whatnot, you're going to have to upgrade to the E4 stock. So that stock that I was talking about with the extra Picatinny Rails, a few other features. One of the big features of it is that you can run your AR-15 mags, your PMags, throw them right in there, or any other AR-15 mag that you use. It should be compatible with that E4 stock. So another thing to consider, maybe grab that stock if you plan on using your magazines interchangeably. So they do have that option for you. It's out there available, but for this stock in particular, that is a negative. You're going to have the specific magazines that are made for this rifle. Now those magazines come in several varieties. Here's your standard 30-round magazine. These have run great, never had any issues with them. Here's your 10-rounder. Also solid. They come in the kind of cool translucent amber of the original, Steyr AUG, which some people think is kind of fun. So you got your 10-rounder. They also make 20 round magazines, and these big bad boys you see right here are 42. So 10, 20, 30, and 42 round magazine options. So, you know, whatever tickles your fancy. Moving on, the trigger. Generally speaking, bullpups do not have a great trigger. You have this trigger linkage system going all the way back from where you pull the trigger here, connecting to your hammer pack or your trigger pack. You know, when you've got that much distance, these rods that you rely on to manipulate your trigger, it's not generally going to be as crisp. You're not going to have the same kind of feel that you would, and that's a big time negative if you're shooting for accuracy in any way. Now, generally speaking, these are a close range rifle, heavier trigger. They're not going to be crisp. They're not going to be beautiful. But they get the job done. That being said, I showed you the upgrades I have in this trigger. If you have an MSAR or a Steyr, man, consider that K&M Lightning and that new trigger. At least for mine, it worked wonders. The trigger on it now is actually very acceptable, even for shooting out to longer ranges.
I did want to show you the trigger on here now that it's been upgraded. Yes, I cleared it. It is completely empty. I only have one hand, so I'm not going to do it again on camera to show you, but let me charge it here. I just want you to see the trigger here, see how much better it is. Alright, see if I can get that in there. So it breaks real quick, and then reset. Don't know how well you can tell, but not a lot of travel, pretty crisp. I really like what that new trigger and the K&M Lightning did for it. Way better than stock. You know, it has a lot more metallic feel to it. You don't notice the rods there as much because it's lighter, and it's good improvement. Definitely something you should spring for if you're a trigger snob. If that bothers you at all. It's light too. Probably about 4.5 pounds, maybe even less. There's not much to that. Pretty nice upgrade. Something to consider, guys.
So moving on after the trigger.
It's the K&M and the new trigger.
Yeah, there you are.
That's how you spell them.
K&M and new triggers. So you can check them out. They're pretty solid products. And they're on there for a pretty decent price. You can get that new trigger for like 20 bucks. I think the K&M was around 40 bucks or so. So, you know, for the cost of a basic, you know, 1911 trigger job or something, you can vastly improve your trigger on this gun. And that is one of the biggest knocks against the bullpup is the trigger. And so if you can do anything to alleviate that problem, you know, I'd go for it. So moving on, different ergos. So I guess for a lot of people this would be a negative. I explained a little bit how the balance is different. Obviously the length is different as well. And for me, those were actually positives. One thing that is definitely a negative for me, I like to shoot, especially when I'm planning on transitioning targets quickly, with my hand out here, you know, more of like the C-clamp technique or whatnot, kind of some of those more modern rifle shooting techniques. And with this gun, obviously, you don't really have an option for that. You're basically stuck with a vertical foregrip here, or sometimes, you know, like I said, if I'm looking to be a little bit more stable, shoot out to distance, you know, I like to get my hand in here sometimes, and that can actually be pretty effective. You know, different ergonomics. It's still very fast, man. You've got all your weight back here, so you can just swing this barrel around with no problem transitioning targets. So if you can learn to get used to the ergos of this, man, it is super effective. Now, people are going to knock it, and they will knock it forever because it's different than what they're used to. It's different than an AR-15, and if that's what you've trained with, that's what you use. You know, this might not be the best option for you. But if you're looking to, you know, either change your system, or if this is going to be your only system and you're going to train with this, man, you can be just as effective, if not more effective, with this, and that's been proven over and over again through you know, run and gun courses and trial and error and testing in various situations, and these perform very well and very reliably. So that can be a negative for you. Just consider it. You know, it's going to be different. If you have an open mind and you're willing to try something new and learn something new, this is a great option. So moving on to the ejection port. Now that one, there's really no way around it. That's generally speaking, just it's a negative. There's not much you can do about it. You know, in the Bullpup, you've got your bolt carrier group back here, and your ejection port is going to be back here. You know, there are some other options. You know, you've got the the FS2000, that thing's dropping them out of the front. You know, the P90 drops them straight out of the bottom. You've got some different options out there, but with the Steyr, the MSAR here, you've got brass flying out right in front of your face, man. And as you get shooting it, you don't notice it as much, but if you're sitting there taking just a couple shots, you'll smell that gunpowder right in your face, and you'll feel the heat of it. It's noisy, and it can be kind of distracting just seeing that brass flying out of your peripheral vision. Another negative to having the brass coming out right here is offhand shooting. If you're going to be switching, for me, if I'm switching over to my left hand here, now I've got the brass coming right at my face instead of just in front of it and away. It's coming right at my face. That's where this thing comes into play. This is the Manticore Arms brass deflector. This enables you to shoot offhand, and it actually does work. As you can see, it's been taking some brass. It'll keep it from hitting your face. That being said, you're going to have to move your cheek weld back a hair, possibly, if this is in your way. You'll have to work around it ergonomically. For me, it's not too big of an issue. I can get down there. You know, I can bump my nose a little bit if I'm not careful. With a little bit of recoil, that could irritate you. But it will work if by some chance you end up having to go the offhand due to an injury or just clearing a particular corner to the right or something like that. It's a good option to be able to go to offhand shooting, and it works. Obviously, it's not as good as moving the bolt to the other side if you're a lefty, but that could be a cheap solution in the meantime while you wait for your new bolt.
Your face.
Yeah. How much was your brass deflector?
I think those run for around $30.
So, really, that'd be a really nice upgrade to get.
Yeah, if you plan on shooting left-handed at all, I get this Manticore Arms, man. This thing helps. And obviously, it's not a replacement for a left-handed bolt because you do have to deal with that deflector in your face still, but it works, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a lefty, go ahead and I'd actually just spend the money.
But even if you're right-handed, you know, there's times when you're gonna have to shoot off-handed, whether you got injured or you have to come around a right-hand corner or something, whatever it may be. It's a nice thing to have. So
if you're lefty, though, it's worth just. I would say it's worth just getting the lefty bolt.
Yeah, you're shooting high. The heck?
I must be under it.
Hold on. You're fine. There you go. Okay, go lefty. You don't have a lot of shots, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna come over here.
This thing goes like right at my nose.
Yeah, you got to kind of keep your head squared and back a little bit when you go left with that with the brass deflector on it. There you go.
Oh, that's it.
There you go. But it works, man. Like it saves your face. You're not going to take any brass in the teeth if you got a brass deflector on there. So it's effective for its purposes.
The smoke coming out.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Can you see it?
I don't think you probably can't see it in the camera.
Yeah, that heat's radiating though.
Yeah, that
receiver gets pretty warm.
It's getting pretty warm up there. That's one thing to pay attention to. It might be a good idea if you're doing any sort of rapid shooting, just stick to holding on to the fore grip here instead of.
Yeah, if you're rapid fire, definitely. I like to take a grip around here, you know, when you're going for more precision shots, so I don't have any of the weight on the barrel end. It's just more ergonomic for me. But yeah, for any close quarter stuff, keep your hand down there. You're gonna burn yourself.
One final negative about having that bolt carrier group right there: if you have some kind of a catastrophic failure, dude, that's happening right in your face, man. That thing's blowing up in your eyes and your mouth. I mean, make sure you wear glasses, in particular if you're shooting a bullpup, just in case something were to go wrong, because you don't want an explosion right in your face like that. You could seriously hurt yourself. So I haven't heard of that happening, but it's something to consider because you never know. There are problems with guns occasionally. You have accidents, so be safe. Wear your eye protection. Wear your ear protection as you should with any gun. So that's a possible negative, and definitely a negative for offhand shooting. And finally, one other negative that I found: if you want to shoot this guy prone, and you're using a 30-round magazine, it can be a little cumbersome. That magazine can get in the way a little bit, as it does with any other long magazine in a traditional rifle, but even more so here just because of the location of it if you're trying to get down low. That's why I'd suggest, you know, carrying one of these 10-rounders around if you want to really get down low with it. It can aid you in that a little bit, otherwise you might have a little bit of issue getting down there with that magazine bumping and getting in the way. It's a little bit harder because of the way the rifle's set up to use the magazine as a monopod. You can do it, but it's a little bit more difficult. And also bench shooting, man. You gotta be kind of careful about how you're doing that. If you want to really test the accuracy of this rifle, you've got to consider that it's not free float. You've got this vertical foregrip connected right to the barrel, so any pressure that you put on it can affect your barrel harmonics, you know, affect your point of impact, obviously, for obvious reasons. So what I generally do, shooting from a bench with this bad boy, you can sandbag it, do whatever you want, but put your pressure right here so you're not putting it directly on the barrel. That'll help you out a little bit to truly discover the accuracy of this gun. It's an accurate gun, more than accurate enough for what you're probably going to be using it for.
And it's still accurate, you know.
Yeah.
There are guys with hand-loaded ammunition who are shooting 1 MOA groups and with factory stuff, you know. What I've seen on average seems to be around the high 1s to 2 MOA, which for its purposes is more than enough accuracy, more than what you need. So.
Well, and then you also got to think too, we've been messing with this thing and doing reviews and taking the whole barrel out and everything and putting it back in and taking all the trigger group, all that crap out.
Oh yeah.
And
pull the whole receiver off and in. And
yeah, you can't tell it by our accuracy tonight because we can't freaking see anything.
Oh, yeah, you can't see anything, so we've got an excuse.
It's capable of shooting a little bit out to range if you desire to, but it's definitely not ideal for that. If you want to put a bipod onto this thing, like I said, you have other stocks. That's one option if you want to get a different stock for it. There are also replacements for this vertical foregrip, so you can put a 1913 rail on there, you can put a monopod on there. I've also seen some that just attach to the barrel and whatnot. Downside to these, again, you've got your bipod connected directly to the barrel, and that's going to be putting the whole weight of the front of the gun onto the barrel, and that's going to change your point of impact. And any inconsistency, if you're not loading the bipod the same as you did the last time, if it's not on the same level platform as it was before, any inconsistencies, that's going to change your point of impact. So this really, it's not a precision rifle, guys. This is made for close quarters combat, generally speaking, and it excels at that. And I would probably keep it in that role because if you really want to reach out there, get something that's more suited for that. So shooting from the bench, shooting from prone, not ideal for that, but great for what you'll probably use it for otherwise. This is an awesome firearm. A lot of really cool features. I've had great success with this one, man. It has run so flawlessly for me. I really do like it. And for a lot of reasons, I like it more than your traditional rifle. That being said, you know, I do like being able to get my hand out there when I shoot. I am more familiar with, let's say, an AR-15. And those ergonomics are more natural for me, but this is something you can definitely get used to, and I would be more than happy with this being my go-to rifle if it came down to it, because I trust it. I know it's going to go bang, and I know that I can get used to these ergos, and I really have.
The mag release is a great spot. The bolt release is a great spot. I mean,
safety just fine, you know. It's different than safety you're used to. You know, this is a push-button safety.
I know you gotta get used to that.
As opposed to the lever, which is different, but you can use it ambidextrously. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
And this, I mean, how this tucks away, it's really nice.
Yep. Charging handle, for those of you who haven't really manipulated these, helps to go palms up. Take 2 fingers, palms up. Go and show them how it goes.
So it can be here, back.
That's all there is to it. Then you let it go.
And then if there's not magazines, go forward. But yeah, so back, forward, just like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's real easy. Some people complain with that because they're racking their knuckles and stuff up here, but you know,
don't go this way. That it just
no, you gotta go palms up with these guys.
So it wouldn't be so bad with the 2.5 scope, or was it 1.5?
Yeah.
If it that wouldn't be so bad that way, but especially if you have a rail, like it just anything really does make sense besides that. It's just more ergonomic too. Like when you're holding it, it's just easier to pull this way than to get up over it.
Yeah.
You know? So if you're an AK guy, your first thought might be to go up over, But it's, yeah, standard.
Yep.
Palm up.
Palms up, man. And same thing, that's just as effective, it's just different. So, you know, these are all things that people complain about, but it's only because they're not used to it, you know. So if you make this your weapon of choice and train with it, you know what, those complaints kind of go out the window.
Yeah.
So that's very subjective whether or not you like these things. It has everything to do with your experience, what you've been through with firearms. So
CQB is, I mean, it doesn't get any better than bullpup design.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a huge advantage. Look at the length of that, man. That's got a full 16-inch barrel on it right there.
As you can see, there's your magazine release right here. Real easy as you come up. You just bump it with your thumb. They'll fall free real easy. Pull out your new one, and just like an AR-15, you know, I mean, you're going straight up with it. Now it's a different location. Most people are used to doing that in front of their trigger finger there, but it's just something to get used to, guys. If you keep an open mind and wanna learn a new system, do it. If you know you want to make sure that you're as proficient as possible in one, and you don't want this to be it, then you know, don't do it. So personal preference there, guys. But I will say, if you train with this, you can be just as efficient and just as fast at manipulating this weapon as you can with an AR-15. Don't listen to guys who tell you otherwise, because they're just being closed-minded. Keep an open mind. You know, try new things out and see what works for you, truly. Don't just listen to what you hear. Don't even just listen to me, you know. Try it out for yourself. Listen to some other people. See what their experiences have been. Mine, overall, has been very positive. It's kind of that gun that I saw growing up a lot. There was always just, you know, something about it. And there's some great ones out here right now that will rival it and beat it in many categories. But I really just like the look of this, the traditional Steyr AUG that I always saw. Just something special about it. Very cool firearm, gonna pump people up. And if I was gonna give this thing an overall score, just with my experience that I've had with it, I'm gonna give it a 8.7, man. Very solid, very awesome firearm with very, very minimal issues, and those that it does have can often be either slightly alleviated or fixed through training. So nice gun. What would you say about it?
Yes, I'd say the same, you know. Real nice gun, just it's all training.
Yeah. I
like the Tavor more.
And the Tavor is a sweet gun too, man. So this has been a review by the Doomsday Brothers of the MSAR STG-556. Great little bullpup. Get out there and enjoy.
Slow this thing down, huh?
Oh, I got that.
I have struggled today.